If you're a returning subscriber or the algorithm has found you, it's because you're on your self-improvement journey and you have high standards for yourself. That's the people that I attract on my channel. And the reason why you have high standards is because you know you have a lot of potential. And you're a high achiever and want to maximize that potential. What's different about you though is that you're humble enough and aware that you're the one responsible for reaching that potential. You know that success is within your control and that no one is out there to save you. You understand that you're the one that needs to put in the work to get to where you want to go. And that already makes you 10 steps ahead because most people are just sitting back waiting for things to happen to them without actively pursuing it. But that's the key thing here. Knowing is not enough. Knowing that you're responsible isn't enough. You need to take the proper action to get to where you want to go. The best way to reach your potential is by setting goals for yourself. You probably already know this, but let me just reframe that for you. The reason why setting goals work is because they are challenging and you grow the most when you are faced with challenges. And I understood that. That's why I created my self-improvement challenge in July. It was so successful. I had over 4,000 people that participated, and it was such a positive challenge that I decided to create the part 2 for September. So if that's something that's interesting to you, if you want to participate in the challenge, you can still join my challenge where we focus on one goal for 8 weeks. Everyone has their own goal that they're working on, but we have this like-minded community of people that hold each other accountable and that support each other towards our dreams. So if that's something that you want, you can sign up in the first link in my description. But regardless, okay, regardless if you want to participate in the challenge or not, you're definitely setting goals for yourself. I know that for you because you're a high achiever. Here's the thing. I don't even care what your goal is. I don't care how delusional your dream might seem or how big your vision is. I'm only here to tell you that it is absolutely possible for you to achieve anything that you want. I believe in you. I really believe that nothing is too big and that you can achieve anything you put your mind to. And I'm here to support you. Literally, every YouTube video I make, just go on my channel, you will see it's all to help you achieve your goals. I'm here as an ally. I'm here because I'm on the same team. But ultimately, I'm not the one that's going to do the work for you. It is your responsibility to make sure that you are working on your goals strategically so you don't end up sabotaging your own success. It's really you versus you, baby. You're the one that stands in between you and your goals. I know you have a problem right now. If everything was going great and you were satisfied with where you would want to be, you would have never clicked on this video. So the problem I'm guessing that you're having is that you struggle at staying disciplined on your goal. You know that you can't achieve it. You know that you have what it takes, but for some reason, you always end up self-sabotaging. You get distracted, you succumb to temptations, you make the wrong decisions, you engage in toxic behaviors. Basically, you're doing the exact opposite actions that are required for you to stay on track towards your goals. And even though you know and you see yourself do those behaviors that aren't supporting your goal pursuit, you can't seem to break the cycle. You keep doing the same mistakes. You need to escape this toxic loop you're in. Something that I learned 2 days ago is that the opposite of discipline is doubt. And it makes sense, so hear me out. When you sabotage over and over again, you start doubting if you'll ever achieve that potential that you know you have. And when you start doubting yourself, it makes you less likely to act in accordance to where you want to go because you don't really believe in yourself anymore. And once you stop believing in yourself, you're not going to take the action necessary to achieve that potential. And that's how you stay average. You need to break this cycle. This is a priority in your life right now. So if you want to escape mediocrity, you need to gain some self-control. You need to control your impulses, how you react to excuses, how you react to temptations. All of those are trying to pull you off track of your goals. Think about it. Let's say you need to go to the gym, but the couch is always calling your name and telling you you're just going to do that workout tomorrow. Or maybe you're someone that wants to create some social media content, But what you'll do is you'll end up scrolling on social media, convincing yourself you're doing research, but you're still self-sabotaging. Or maybe you're trying to eat healthy because you have some fitness and health goals, but then you have friends making plans, inviting you to dinner and drink on the weekend, and you don't say no to that. There will always be distractions coming your way, but you have to be mindful and learn to say no. You have the choice to say no to those things. It doesn't matter even have a goal or not. You will always have temptations or things that will always pull you towards the lowest version of yourself. If you always engaged in instant gratification, you will never prepare for a better future and you will have the lowest vibrancy of yourself. The worst thing is that when you do mindlessly engage in those instant gratifications, things that give you instant dopamine, instant pleasure, you end up feeling bad for yourself because you know it's the wrong choice, that you should have stayed disciplined. And when you feel bad, you try to numb that feeling with doing self-sabotaging behaviors. It's not really the fact that you made a wrong decision that is the bad thing. It's how you react to that. That's what makes you dig yourself into a deeper hole. If you don't learn how to control yourself, external things will always control you. And it's so hard nowadays because we live in this world of instant gratification. But you know what? We also live in the world of so much opportunity, so many more opportunities than ever because of the age of the internet. So you decide on which side do you want to live on. And just remember, the more ambitious you are and the more rewarding your goal is, the higher the resistance you will feel to get there. And that's likely to be you because I know you're a high achiever. Like, I just know you because that's the energy I put out there and that's the people I attract. So just know that your path is going to be harder than most people because you have a bigger vision for yourself. And I encourage you to go after it, but you need to prepare properly. You need to set yourself up for success. So achieving your goals really all comes down to making better decisions. I know it sounds quite simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. It's hard to say no to smoking weed. It's hard to say no to watching TV. It's hard to say no to partying. But luckily, you can learn how to say no because it is a skill. It is a skill that you can build. And you will want to build this skill because no matter what your goals are, because you're going to have multiple goals in your life, and they're all going to get bigger and bigger, which is amazing. But it doesn't really matter what your goals are. All you have to learn is the skills that support your goals, such as self-discipline and self-control. And if you learn those skills, you will be able to apply that to any goal you pursue. So what are these skills that I'm talking about? What you need to do to develop for you to stay committed to your goals and to actually have self-control and self-discipline is to have strong emotional intelligence. I promise you that will make you next level. This is like a missing piece in your life. And as much as you think you have strong emotional intelligence, you need to humble yourself and realize that you definitely have some work to do. Because if you're failing right now or you can't stay consistent, it's because you lack emotional intelligence. It is known that successful people don't necessarily have a high IQ. There's a lot of dumb people that are successful, but what they do have is a strong EQ. So don't worry about being the smartest person in the room. You just need strong emotional intelligence. That doesn't cost any money. That doesn't cost nearly as much time as being a high IQ person. You don't need to be the smartest person to be in the top 1%. I am literally the proof of that. I'm in the top 1% of my career. If you don't know me, my name is Bianca St. George, and I'm a professional soccer player. I play in the most competitive league in the world with the best players in the world. I am in the top 1% of athletes that become pro. And I didn't get here because I was the smartest person. I definitely don't have the highest IQ. But I learned to become more emotionally intelligent to make sure that my emotions support my goals. And you'll understand why that makes sense as the video goes on. I had to learn how to recognize, understand, and manage my emotions so that they don't control my behavior, which I know is a problem that you need to fix right now. For me, I started developing emotional intelligence in college. When I was a freshman, I noticed that I had huge anger issues when I would train. And that started ruining my relationships with my teammates, my coaches, my fans. It also hurt my focus, my skill development, and just my overall college experience and mental health. If I wouldn't have learned emotional intelligence back then, I would have kept making the wrong decisions and let anger get the best of me. I had to put time and energy to focus on building emotional intelligence skills so that I stop self-sabotaging and instead manage my emotions so I could become the best athlete possible. Think about it. The things that you do right now, the choices that you make, are dictated by your emotions. How you feel dictates what you do. And what you do dictates your reality. So if you want to change your reality, you need to make sure that you understand and manage your emotions properly. So now when you feel uncomfortable, bored, unmotivated, disappointed, frustrated, sad, you won't let those emotions dictate your behavior because you will have emotional intelligence. When you let those emotions dictate your behavior, you usually will fall back to that pattern that is really toxic and that is sabotaging you. When you have EQ, emotional intelligence, you'll be able to separate yourself from your emotions and make the best decisions that will support you towards your goals, your dreams, and the highest version of yourself. So the plan for the remaining of the video is I'm going to give you 5 skills to build your emotional intelligence. I love my videos because I know it starts with very inspirational and it gets you so hyped and excited, but it always ends up with some practical tools that you can start applying today. The 5 skills that I'm going to talk about breaks down into this acronym named RULER. RULER stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating. So let's jump right into it. Recognizing emotions. The first step of the RULER method is all about being aware of the indicators that allow you to understand how you're feeling. And this is unique to everyone because we all recognize our emotions in different ways. So for me, I'm someone that is very bodily focused. I recognize my feelings through signs within my body. I have a lot of pressure in my head. I can feel tightness in my muscles. So it really doesn't matter how you feel it. You just need to have the practice to being able to even recognize them in the first place. Maybe you're someone that has very strong voice or thoughts in your head that tells you how you feel. Maybe you're someone that is very intuitive and connected to your gut. Or maybe you're someone that you have behaviors that you want to express, that you have like tears wanting to come out or anger that wants to burst out. So everyone has their own way to recognize emotions, but whatever it is, you need to be self-aware to recognize what those are. Sometimes it can be so obvious though, because in my case, when I was dealing with anger, I knew I was angry because that is a very powerful emotion. But as a reflex, I would burst off yelling swear words. I'm very not proud of this period of my life, but I would literally be on the field and scream or like I'm laughing now, but it wasn't funny back then. Every time I made a mistake, I would really be overly expressive verbally about it. So it became very obvious that I was feeling a strong emotion and it felt like anger. So think about your life. You could think back in the past, whatever is going on and you're trying to, let's say, break a certain bad habit that you have. Try to think about what emotions do you feel prior to engaging in that toxic habit. Is it boredom? Is it fear? Is it agitation? Is it disappointment? So it all starts with self-awareness. It really all starts with self-awareness. And self-awareness is so important. It's going to be important for anyone in life. Self-awareness is probably the basis of being a human being. And if you want to know, again, I'm probably annoying with that, but if you want to know practical tools on how to build self-awareness, my last video was all about that. I think I named 13 tools that you can try to build self-awareness. And if you don't want to listen to the full video, that I'll put in the link in my description and I'll put it somewhere here. But if you don't want to listen to that, you can also go to my private community where I have a free course that has it all written out for you to like check through and just work through it and read through it. Anyways, the first step to build emotional intelligence is by recognizing your emotions in the first place. Now, once you do that, the second thing that you have to do is to understand your emotions. You want to ask yourself, why is this emotion arising right now? What was happening for these feelings to come forward? Or is there something that's happened that could be connected to these emotions? You basically want to figure out what triggers that emotion. So in my case, every time I felt angry, I recognized that it's because I felt so exhausted at training and I would make a mistake in relation to that. It felt so unfair to me that I was working so hard, yet not performing as well as I wanted to. I wasn't living up to my expectations, and that made me very angry. So whatever you're feeling, just ask yourself, why does that emotion arise? What triggers it? So then the next step is to label the emotion. This is so important, and I didn't realize how important it was until I had that experience in college. You might find that you struggle to name what you're feeling sometimes, which is very common because most of us, we don't have a wide emotional vocabulary. Literally, try to tell me the difference between frustration and anger and disappointment. We all know how that feels, but we don't really know how to describe it. So once you know more the definitions of what certain feelings are, it really helps you identify them better. But you want to label your emotions. And something that I like to do is to look at this thing called the mood meter. That really helps you identify your emotions as well. So what you have to do is look at this graph where on the horizontal axis, you have the level of pleasantness. And on the y-axis, the vertical one, you see the level of energy or activation. And depending on how pleasant you feel and how activated or energized you feel, you fall into a certain quadrant. And that gives you certain emotions that are usually associated with that. And then you can specifically try to look at certain emotions in there that you might be feeling and maybe even look up the definitions to really label it and recognize exactly the emotion that you're feeling. It's really important that you identify that because that's what's going to tell you how you're going to create this action plan, the next steps. You can only know what to do and how to overcome and not self-sabotage anymore if you know exactly how you're feeling, because that's going to give you a solution. Let me give you an example. So I was listening to this podcast the other day, and this professor that is literally a researcher as well in emotional intelligence asked his students to tell him the dominant emotion that they feel like during a semester. And most of them, by the end of the class, they told the dominant emotion that they were feeling was stress. The professor didn't really buy it. He said, how about you go home and you journal about how you're feeling? Just write down specifically what you feel and also why you think you might feel that way. And then come back to me next class and we'll discuss it. It turns out that when they came back, they all changed their emotion. And their emotion all changed for the same one. Most of the students felt envy. They didn't feel stress, they felt envy. They were thinking, oh, your dad is more connected than mine. Your parents are richer. You're better looking, so you're going to have an easier time to have a job. They felt envy. And that is very important to recognize because if they felt stressed, the way to cope with stress is maybe breathing techniques and maybe relaxation techniques. But when you feel envy, it's not the same action plan that you got to do. You need to work on certain mindsets or beliefs or build genuine relationships. It's a totally different course of action. So that's why it's so important that you identify what you're actually feeling as precisely as possible, because that's going to help you navigate what you're going to do about it. So let's go back to me in college. When I was meeting up with my psychologist, she taught me something that maybe you already know, but it felt new to me back then. She said that anger wasn't my primary emotion. It was simply a side effect to a deeper emotion. Anger manifests itself as a shield or a way to cope with more vulnerable feelings. That's true for everyone. So that's why we know anger as being a secondary emotion. So I started thinking about my training sessions and my games and why I would feel so angry. And I realized that the reason why I was feeling angry was because deep down, I was feeling very insecure. Yes, I was angry for working hard so much and not getting what I deserved, but that wasn't really the real problem. My whole life, all I had to do was to work hard and do my best to have success. And that's literally what got me to play Division I soccer in college. But once you play at that level, it gets a little bit more nuanced. Hard work is not enough. You need to be more specific and strategic about it. I now had scout, I had meetings, I had films, I had gym work, I had to do some agility and fitness tests and travel and pre-med studies. There was so much happening in college. I had so much on my plate, and I couldn't manage it all in a healthy way by giving my best and 100% and working so hard. It was just not sustainable. But knowing that it wasn't sustainable and not a good return of investment, it made me feel insecure because working hard was all I knew to do. But I knew I had to change because I wasn't performing as well anymore. On game days, I was always feeling so tired and I never wanted to play. I lost all sort of love or passion for the sport. So I knew that to get better, I had to work smarter, not harder. And I had to change a lot about myself, about my habits. And that felt so difficult and uncomfortable. I felt insecure because I didn't know if I was good enough, if I will be good enough, or if I would be able to step up to the challenge. And because I wasn't acknowledging that I was feeling insecure and I wasn't changing anything, I was feeling angry as a consequence. I was feeling angry because basically I was not changing anything, not solving the problem. So I hope you can see that labeling properly is a really good way to truly acknowledge how you feel and find out a solution that feels suitable and proactive. Labeling insecurity as my problem was way more useful than anger, because if I just focused on anger, I would probably just manage it with breathing or on the field, like trying to let it go. But I would never actually go to the root cause of it, and it would always come back and it would always be a bad habit that I would keep. But now that I knew I was insecure, I could do something a little bit different that would allow me to become confident again. But before you go straight into the action plan, there's one more step that you gotta do, and that's probably the most uncomfortable one because it definitely was for me. You have to make sure that once you label your emotion, you express that emotion. Expressing your emotion doesn't mean that you need to express it in any time and place. You have to do it with some sort of intelligence. You need to learn when and how to express your emotions. It's all about communicating what's happening inside of you in a way that's constructive and considerate of both yourself and other people around you. Expressing your emotions is dependent on culture, on people, on context. You have to be mindful of how you act and how it affects yourself, your future, and other people. I can say that it is more beneficial to express your emotions in Western cultures than Eastern cultures. That's what the studies show. So you have to be mindful of that. Context is also important. You have to make sure that you are in a safe space. Actually, I will challenge you right now. This is a safe space on my channel. I want you to write in the comments the emotion you're feeling right now. You don't have to elaborate. You don't have to share anything too personal, but you can be authentic in acknowledging and recognizing how you feel. I would love to know that. And I would love to encourage you to feel free to express those feelings in a safe space. In reality, though, you can express your emotions in multiple ways. It could be verbally, it could be with your body language, it could be with certain reflexive actions that you have. You just have to be mindful about how and when you're expressing your emotions, because if you don't do it at the proper time, you might be making your problems way worse. Like for me, I was making it worse when I was being angry in front of my teammates, in front of my coaches, in front of fans. I'm not proud to throw in F-bombs in front of 8, 9-year-old girls watching my game. I'm not proud to swear out loud and showing that I'm angry around my teammates because I'm affecting their performance. They want to see me like thriving, not being so harsh on myself. And same for my coach that's investing so much time in me. I don't want to pay her back by having anger issues. That just did not make me proud of myself. And that was something that I really wanted to change, obviously, because that's why I started seeing a psychologist for it. But the thing is, even though I knew I had anger issues and I had to overcome them, it doesn't like go away automatically. I still felt anger even though I knew I didn't want to like express that feeling anymore, like all the time. But what I did though is that I found a strategy to cope with that. I met up with my head coach and I brought in a trusted teammate with me and I told them about what I was working on. And we came up with a solution that when I felt anger, we would have like a special gesture that would make me kind of like let go of that emotion so I could deal with it later in a more appropriate time. For example, when I was playing a game, if I felt anger coming up to me and about to like take me out of my head, I would look at my head coach or I would look at my teammate and we would have our gesture. That's literally what it was. And it basically meant to just stay grounded and like forgive yourself, stay grounded. So that helped me manage my anger on the spot. And then when it was appropriate to address it, which was when I was in my one-on-one sessions with my psychologist, we were able to talk about anger in such a calm and clear-minded space. So that's why I want you to be emotionally intelligent, because it not only helps you, but it helps all the relationships that you have around you, because you know when it's safe and suitable to express those emotions. I know you might be thinking that expressing your emotions can feel really hard when you don't have anyone to express them to. So here are some strategies I have for you. The first thing you can think about is to hire a therapist. But I know that it costs money, although I think that if you are making money and you can't afford some things, like this is a good investment. We're talking about your goals here. We're talking about you becoming the best version of yourself. Wouldn't you want to invest in that? Anyways, I can understand if it feels uncomfortable to spend money, or maybe you don't have that money to spend. So what you should do instead is journal. Just start writing in your journal, either like you're your own therapist, what the therapist would tell you, or write like you're your own best friend and you just want someone to listen. That will get you like more comfortable to express your feelings. So maybe then it will help you do the other two strategies. Because the next strategy is sometimes you just got to listen to your intuition and open up to someone that you trust. And maybe you don't trust them fully, but that's how trust works. You gain trust by giving your trust, by taking a calculated risk to open up and share vulnerable things with someone and see if they listen. And if they don't listen, literally, it's on them. If they're going to do something bad with that information, it's on them. You're trying to be authentic. You're trying to build a genuine bond, and they're the one that loses if they're not the ones that are listening to you. But you can only have a relationship with someone where you can express yourself if you actually go out and try to express yourself. And then finally, the third strategy, if you want to learn how to express yourself better, is ask yourself, are people coming to you to express themselves? Are you allowing people to come to you? Are you giving them the permission? You also need to give a safe space for people to speak about their emotions. And you do that by 1, being non-judgmental, 2, being empathetic, and 3, be an active listener. You're not there to fix their problems. You're literally there to just show that you care. And I'm not saying that if you do this, the person will automatically reciprocate it and be a good listener as well. But at least you're opening the door for that potential relationship. And I promise you, over time, that's how you will build them. That's how I have such strong, profound, open, vulnerable relationships with people, is because I give myself to people that I think I can trust. And most of the time, my intuition is pretty right. And then eventually, they open up back and we just have this beautiful, authentic relationship. But you can only do that if you give that to people and also are willing to risk it for yourself as well. Now, here's the final step into the ruler method to how to increase emotional intelligence. This step is all about regulating emotions. It is how you manage the emotions. What are you going to actually do about it to deal with the emotion? How do you stop reacting mindlessly and instead do the actions that will stay disciplined and that will actually break the self-sabotaging cycle? Doing the first 4 steps are so important because oftentimes people focus so much on what should they do without never acknowledging their emotions and going through the first 4. But you need to do the first 4 to know how you truly feel and let it go so you can actually know what the plan is to move forward. For example, now that I knew that I was feeling insecure and I was able to feel that emotion and really understand that that was the reality I had to face, I had to think, how do I overcome this? How do I go from insecure to confident? And that's when I started to brainstorm and come with an action plan. It turns out that I had to shift from working hard to working smart. So what does that look like? I had to learn to visualize my skills instead of doing excessive amounts of reps that will leave me tired. I had to spend more time learning about the tactics of the game instead of mindlessly doing drills on the field after training. And I also had to try different recovery techniques like meditation or power naps to simply feel better. So you can see that I could only come down to these new conclusions and new behavioral action and feel secure. Literally knowing that I had an action plan already made me feel better. I was already overcoming that emotion. I was already healing, and that's how I stayed disciplined. That's how I was able to get drafted. That's how I was able to become the professional athlete I am today with such a strong mindset, is because I understand my emotions. And I'm not saying that I'm extremely emotionally intelligent. That is actually something I constantly work on. But I realize that is the key to keep me going. That keeps me self-control. And remember, the opposite of discipline is doubt. But when you're clear about what you do, you eliminate that doubt. So it's so much easier to be disciplined because you're clear about what to do. You feel like you have a resolution. So I hope you understand that the ruler method is the skills that you need to work on to actually stay committed to your goals, to stop that self-sabotaging toxic cycle that you're in. The worst thing that you can do is to keep suppressing your emotions and never dealing with them until it will end up building up and making you burn out, or make you make the wrong decisions over and over and over again for years. This is your time right now where you're being aware and you're listening to me, and this is the time you do something different. So I really hope that you're taking my advice here and you start building those skills. And if you want to be a part of my life or my community, you can sign up in the first link of my description for the challenge, where I interact with it every single day. And also in my second link, this is my newsletter. This is where I share like personal stories. If you like me, like if you like to know more about me and my mindsets and my stories that are very exclusive to my newsletter, I don't share anywhere else, you can sign up for it there. And so you get a little bit more personal time with me. But on this note, let me know how you feel. I really am curious. Thank you for listening into the end. If you listened into the end, I'm very proud of you because you're taking yourself seriously, your potential seriously, and your growth seriously. And at the end of the day, I want you to be emotionally intelligent because you will be a leader, not necessarily online like I want to be, but you will be a role model to people. You will have influence. You will be inspirational. And emotional intelligence is going to be what's needed for you to have strong, genuine bonds with people. So this is an investment in yourself and in the future generations. The world depends on us to get better, literally. So I hope you lead your life so then you can lead others, and together we will make the world a better place. I'll see you next week in a new video, practical just like this one. I love you so much. Mwah.